Hello all. Last class when we have seen that population is not spread in all parts of the world evenly, we have seen one reason why population is not spread in all parts of the world evenly. The reason is migration, right? People start migrating from one part of the world to other part for various reasons. It may be like for employment, it may be for any other reasons, employment or luxurious living or any other reason. But people start moving on from one place to the other place. So this movement from millions and millions of years together, that is from the age of early man, has been happening, right? So this movement of man is termed as migration, right? So the present topic what we are going to discuss is migration. From the ancient times, people moved on from one place to other place. That is why we see races of people from one continent to other continent. We see races of China, even in places like Canada, Greenland, and so many other places. The reason is people have migrated from this place to that place, right? So the races are still available, right? Why people have migrated? Priests have migrated, spiritual people have migrated from one place to other. See, some people, they go for Himalayas and all. Why do they go? They go there for, doing this tapasya and all, right? So, that is one, they migrate. People go for attaining knowledge. Some people, some teachers, they go for other countries to learn so many things, right? Like that, people move on, and of course, today so many people are moving to other countries for earning money. So these are the main reasons. And if you still remember, in early 18th centuries, people used to move other people as slaves, like African people and all, they used to be there, no? American people, they used to move African people as slaves. People in South America, they used to have lot of African people as slaves. North America, the southern side of North America, only few people used to be there as slaves, but lot of South American people, they used to have African people as slaves. So all this is migration only? Obviously yes. So to sum up, people who migrated are travelers, traders, knowledge seekers and slaves, right? So mostly these are the people who traveled and migrated. Today, in today's world, people are traveling for industrialization and globalization. In today's world, three other major factors which have contributed for migration are industrialization, globalization and technology. Industrialization, globalization and technology. In most of the industrially developed countries, people tend to go there. The reason is, if it is an industrially developed country, they get more money out of it. If it is industrially poor country, people may not get more money out of it. The same thing goes with globally developed countries. Globally developed countries. Today, of course, most of the countries are globally developed only. But previously, in the early 20th century, when most of the countries, the countries like US and UK and Japan, all these countries are globally developed. when they are ahead of all the other countries, people started moving out to them. The reason is people can get a luxurious living, people can get little more money out of those countries. When they go to the countries, people will be comfortable with their living. So people started moving to those countries in the early 20th century, right? Then technology, of course, technology plays a very important role in today's living. In a small mobile phone, we start seeing the world. We have started seeing the world during the pandemic, right? Most of us explored the world during the pandemic through a small mobile phone. Everything we are operating through a very small mobile phone during these days, right? Nanotechnology has improved. So technology is playing a very important role in migration. Technologically improved countries, they are always ahead of the other countries which are not technologically improved. So obviously people tend to move to those countries which are technologically improved. See Dubai, see Japan. Why people started moving to those countries? China. Why people started moving to those countries is they want a speed living. They want a faster living than those who are living a normal life, right? Now, migration is classified under two major heads, into two. One is internal migration and second one is international migration. Internal migration and international migration. So internal migration means which people are moving inside the borders of the country. People are moving inside the borders of the country. So that will be known as internal migration in short. If it is international migration, people when they are moving across the borders of the country, out of the borders of the country, then it is known as international migration. For example, if I am moving out of India, that means if I am moving even to Nepal or if I am moving even to Sri Lanka, if my passport is stamped, then it is international migration. All of you know a passport, right? If my passport is stamped, then that is international migration. Internal migration. In internal migration, do we carry a passport? Do we get it stamped? Never. So in international migration, we just go in through domestic flights or through other means of travel like buses or trains, right? So that is internal migration and international migration. Today all means of migration have become so easy, whether it is internal migration or international migration. In international migration, we have to know few things. One is immigration, second one is emigration. Immigration and emigration. These two words are most relative words. If I am moving out of the home country, India is my country, and if I am moving out of India to US, imagine if I am moving out of India to US, then I will become an emigrant to India and immigrant to US. I am going inside US and I am going outside India. So I will become an emigrant to India and immigrant to US. Okay. Suppose someone is coming inside India from US. Someone is coming from US to India. They will become immigrants to India and emigrant to USA. They will become emigrant to USA and immigrant to India. They are coming inside India. Clear? So if my destination country is something else other than my home country, this is my home country where I am living in. India is my home country where I am living in. If I am going out of my home country, then I will be a immigrant. Then I will be an immigrant. If I am going into some other country, then I will be a immigrant. So the same word, the same person is applied with two words, immigrant and immigrant, right? So likewise, people of India became immigrants and immigrants at the same time. During the partition of India in 1947, people became immigrants and immigrants. How means some people they went to Pakistan during the partition time. So they became immigrants for India and immigrants for Pakistan. Immigrants means coming inside. So they became immigrants for Pakistan and immigrants for India because they went out of India. They became immigrants for India, right? Similarly, some people they went for trade for Bhutan, Bangladesh, all these places. So then also they became immigrants for India. You know, export and import, right? Export means we are selling the product and it's going outside. Import means we are buying the product and it's coming outside. So in X, same, right? So and in South America also most of the places they're filled with other country people. Even today you see other races of people in South America. During the partition of India and Pakistan, more than 50 million people they have moved from India to Pakistan. More than 50 million people they have moved from India to Pakistan. So this is termed as greatest migrations of human history. Greatest migrations of human history. So from then, since the 1970s, people started moving to other countries, developed countries, what we have discussed, industrially developed, globalized, technologically developed countries like Canada, Great Britain, USA. People started moving to other countries. Educated people, what we have to stress upon is, educated people started moving on to developed countries. So this is known as brain drain. Draining means movement, right? Draining means movement. So draining of brain, for whatever the reason may be, whether it is trade or knowledge, whether it is going for the sake of knowledge or whether it is going for the sake of trade or getting money. So all this happened in the late 1970s in most of the developing countries. Most of them have gone to the developed countries. Last lesson in the population dynamics, we have seen that most of the people they moved from low developed countries to high developed countries. The reason is this only. Most of them moved for the sake of money, others moved for different reasons. Like, see, we have seen why people are moving for migration. So many reasons. Knowledge seeking is there. Some people, they have moved for spiritual reasons. So brain drain is one of the reason. Brain drain is one of the reason why people moved on for the sake of knowledge, comfortable living, money, etc. And this is a very big incentive by the developed countries to the developing countries. So all the developed countries, they used to show some incentive to the developed countries that they would be attracted to the developed countries and they would be ready to work for them. See, why most of the people during the late 1990s, 2000, even during the early 21st century, most of the people used to work for medical transcriptions in India. The reason is they used to pay a lot. They used the US people, they used to pay a lot, right? So that is one incentive given by the developed countries to the developing countries, right? So that is how they used to attract people. They used to attract people and they used to take the use of, they used to use the brain of the developing countries. Now, who is at a loss here? The country where the home country where they are living is at a loss. They are not, sometimes they are not leaving the country. For example, during medical transcription, where they are doing the, right now example what we have taken, they are not leaving the country. They are working from here only and they are getting money from there, isn't it? So who is at a loss? Our country is at a loss. And sometimes if they are going out to the other country, the brain of our country is going to the other country and it's working for the country, working for the other country. So our country is at a loss. The home country is at a loss, right? So that brain drain, when brain drain happens, the home country obviously will be at a loss. The reason is all the cost of training and all will be borne by the home country, but these people will be going and working to some other country. If they are working here, it will be very good. But after taking all the training here, they will be working, they will be putting the fruit somewhere else. So that is not good. If all the tree is coming up here, if the fruit is into some other's house, it will be painful to the owner, isn't it? So that is what is happening in the home country today. Now let's see to internal migration. So as we have discussed before, internal migration means moving inside the country. Moving inside the country. So this internal migration, in moving inside the country, again the same reasons may be there. Maybe because of health, maybe because of education or different reasons, employment reasons, comfortable living. If I am not comfortable in a village, I will be moving to a town. If I am not comfortable in a town, I will be moving to a metro. So this is how migration is happening from one place to one other, even in a country, right? So this migration is of 4 different types in internal migration: rural to rural, rural to urban, urban to urban, urban to rural, right? So the first case of internal migration is rural to rural migration. Rural means village kind of atmosphere. So rural to rural migration. So here in rural to rural migration, people move from one village to other village. Why will people move from one village to other village? Suppose in case of girls, they marry and move to other villages, right? So when they marry, they go to other village. So one kind of migration. Farmers. If farmers are not happy with one village, they are not getting the crop in one village, what do? They go to the other village, they try their luck in that village, isn't it? Because they cannot come and grow the crop in the towns and cities, right? So they try their luck in other cities. So that is one kind of rural migration, right? So these are most common, and some people, they do very menial jobs, very small jobs. So construction and all. So that kind of very small jobs, when they cannot afford for a very bigger living, they go for rural migration. Some people, even when they are doing jobs in the towns and cities also, they live in villages. The reason is the cost of living is comparatively less in a village than in a town or city. Some villages, when the agricultural season is low, when the agricultural season is slack, when they cannot grow crops. So what do? They move from rural places to some other towns or some other places for the construction of railways or for the construction of buildings and all. So all these kind of very small jobs, they keep on moving, right? So that is how. But once when the Green Revolution has started in places like Punjab and Haryana in 1960s, in places like Punjab, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh and all, so people have started encouraging agriculture. So they mostly stop moving from one place to other place. So we can see a significant development of agriculture in places like the Shivaliks and the Tarai region, right? In the places like Shivaliks, that is foothills of Himalayas, we can see. Those places we can see a very significant development. Because of this significant development, there was a resettlement of Sikh people who have developed in the Pakistan, who have settled in the Pakistan region. They have come and settled back in these rural areas of the Tarai region. So that is rural to rural migration. Now, rural to urban migration. This is the most common form of migration. Rural to urban migration. Why people move from villages to cities? Isn't it? People mostly move from villages to cities. The reason is comfortable living they'll be having, no health issues, that means very good hospitals, very good schools they'll be having, very good roads. See, if we compare the roads and roads of villages and cities, we definitely will be having, that means in the cities we'll be having definitely very good roads compared to villages, right? Very good street lighting we'll be having, all good facilities we'll be having, isn't it? Good restaurants, good everything in better compared to the villages. So people tend to move to urban areas for a better living. People tend to move to urban areas for a better living, right? If people are living in towns and cities, they tend to move to cities, I mean metros and all, for more advanced living, right? They tend to move for the cities for a more advanced living. So what people are seeing here is they see for more comfortable life. So these are known as push and pull factors. What is pushing you from the place which you are living in, and what is attracting you, what is pulling you to the other place, comfortable place. So these factors are known as push and pull factors. Now in the example what we have seen, comfortable living, in this comfortable living health facilities, educational facilities, and good comfortable living. All these are pull factors that are attracting you to the place. And those same factors are push factors in the case of a village. In the case of a village, they are push factors. In the case of a city, they are pull factors. In case of city, we have some push factors. See, for example, cost of living is a very big push factor for people living in the villages. Sometimes they may not be able to afford for that cost of living. Obviously, it will be very high. Everything will be comfortable, but that cost of living may not be affordable to everyone. So that is a push factor. High rents, high maintenance, right? All these are push factors. They tend to move the person away from the place. Though there are so many push factors for a city, people started moving on to urban areas because there are so many restrictions in a village, like rigid caste system and all. So all these people want to just remove off, and they want to go for a very social movement. They want to go for a very social culture. So people started moving on to this urban areas. So this has become a very common set of migration. And the next one is urban to urban migration. Though I am living in an urban area, and I still want a better education, a better health facility, everything is better than what I am. So what I am having now. So I still want to move to a better place. Suppose if I am living in a town, I want to move to a city. If I am living in a city, I want to move to a metro. So this is how the condition of the man has become. So this is what is urban to urban migration, isn't it? Man always wants a better thing, isn't it? If I am writing with a chalk, I always want a digital board. If I am writing with a digital board, I just want something. When I speak out something, it has to write by itself, isn't it? This is how we want everything in better. That is what is urban to urban migration. Clear? So here also push and pull factors only. The pull factor is comfort zone. The pull factor is always a comfort zone in case of urban to urban migration. People will not see for the push factor something called money. Okay, they don't care for money. The only pull factor is comfort. And the last one is urban to rural. So here in case of urban to rural, when this happens is, suppose I am living in an urban area. See, nowadays it's so common that farm areas have become very common. Farm houses have become very common. They say that, they advertise that this is very far off from the city, pollution less. Why pollution less? Now people have come to a saturated state that we do not want any more pollution, isn't it? We do not want any more pollution. Now people started moving from urban areas to rural areas. The cycle has turned from urban areas to rural areas. Once upon a time it was rural areas to urban areas, and now it has turned to urban areas to rural areas. They no more want any kind of pollution living, pollution free living they want, right? So that is how urban to rural areas it has started, the migration has started. Congestion free living. Some people, they have started growing the plants and all on their houses and all. But still, some people, those who can afford to have a house very far off from the area, then they are going out to the rural areas. And some people, those who cannot afford the cost of living in urban areas, then they are moving to rural areas. That is one reason. Now let's see what are the causes of migration. The first cause of migration is economic factor. Economic factor means which is relating to money. Why people started moving from one place to other? It is just for the sake of money. Mostly for the sake of money. Not just for the sake of money. Mostly for the sake of money. See, people started moving from highly developed countries, from low developed countries to highly developed countries for the sake of higher wages, for a comfortable living, for good education, for good health facilities, everything in better, right? Everything in better. So how do we get this in better? When you are paying more, you will be getting more. How do you pay more? When you earn more, you pay more. So how you are paying more? That is with better wages and all. Better wages, better salaries and all. You will be paying more. So who is paying you more? High developed country is paying you more. That is economic factor. So economic factor. When you are migrating to a high developed country, you will be getting more. And that is what we have seen in the case of brain drain. That is what we have seen in the case of brain drain, right? So when a low developed country is not able to pay more, and it is not able to hold the brain of individual, it's the economic factor, it's not able to, that economic factor of migration is playing a very important role here, right? And that's what we see in the case of push and pull factors. When everything is pulling, everything good is pulling, and everything bad is pushing, why not people will go? So that is what is economic factor. That is what is economic factor, right? Second one is marriage. Most people in India, most girls in India, it's become a common custom in India that girls move to their in-laws place. So most people in India, they go to their in-laws place after marriage, right? So that is one cause of migration. That's one cause of migration. Today if you see, most of the children, they are going for their higher studies for other countries, right? Even after marriage, the girls are also going for other countries, right? So most of the people, they are moving to other places after marriage. So marriage has become a very common factor for migration. Third one is education. Most places in India is almost 60% of villages where you do not have proper educational facility, right? So people in villages, they like their children to get better education. They want their children to get better education. So what they do is they send their children to other towns and cities. They migrate. They come to towns and cities for the education of their children. So that is migration. When they want better education, obviously they have to come to towns and cities, right? So education is one very important factor for migration. Then is lack of security. Lack of security means some places, take for example Andhra Pradesh is there, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, all these places are very safe and secure places. But see in the north, Jammu and Kashmir is there, Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, all the places which are on the border. Are they very safe and secure all the time? No. So people started migrating from those unsafe places to safer places. So that is lack of security. Okay. People started moving to safer places when there is no security. And in these places, like wherever you have lack of security, the climate is also very harsh. Isn't it? The climate is also very harsh. So people cannot tend to, be for most of the time there. So people tend to migrate to other places. Now let's see what is the impact of migration. The first one is demographic consequences. Demographic consequences. Demography means moving from one place to other. Demographic consequences. We have seen pull and push factors, right? We have seen pull and push factors. So because of this pull and push factors, people start moving from one place to other. There will be an imbalance, right? See, sometimes one place will be, for example, take lack of security only. That place, most of the people will be leaving that place and coming to safer places like the South India. So South India will be very thickly populated, and North India will not be as much populated as South India is. Let us think. It's not the real case. Let us think. So if that happens, then South India is overpopulated, North India is underpopulated, right? So this demographic consequences also take place because of this. Another case. Today what is happening? All the people, because of their jobs and all, they are leaving their parents, their grandparents, everyone, and they are moving off to other countries. So here there is a very real need for the parents and grandparents, right? So that is one demographic consequence, right? Apart from this, there is an imbalance in the distribution of males and females also. There is an imbalance of distribution of males and females also. All these are demographic consequences of migration. Now let's see social consequences. Social consequences means, suppose people are migrating to different places. They come to, they come in contact to each other. They come to know each other. So there will be an interaction of different cultures. There will be an interaction of different cultures. This is a positive thing. But when poor people, they have to go in search of work, they have to leave their family behind. So this is one negative aspect of social consequence. This is one negative aspect where they have to leave their family behind and they have to go, right? So when they are leaving their family behind and they are going in search of work, that leads to broken relationships, right? So that is social consequence of migration. And last one is economic consequence of migration. In case of economic consequences of migration, as we have seen, economic consequences means which is relating to money. So in case of economic consequences, most of the time the training is borne by the home country, but because they are going for pull factors, they are taking all the advantages. The people who are migrating, they are taking all the advantages. The sending country will be losing in the form of foreign exchange. The receiving country only will be at a gain. The reason is the supply of labor will be coming inside, people will be coming inside the receiving country, and there will be no brain drain. I mean, home country will be sending people, people will be going from the home country to the receiving country. So it is an edge, it is an advantage to the receiving country only. But because the skilled force is going out of the country, home country, it is a very big loss for the home country. Only thing how the home country can be benefited is it can be receiving some funds from the people who are going out to the other countries in source of foreign exchange. So in this lesson we have discussed about migration, brain drain, who are the immigrants, who are the immigrants, and what are the forms of migration, what are the causes of migration, and what is the impact of migration. Thank you.